Okay, so I've gotten most of the face shaded in and blended the way I like it using the blending stump and my eraser. Um, Now I'm kind of working on balancing out her like skin tone and making sure that I haven't left like huge eraser marks, things of that nature. Um, and then like her lips, I'm still just kind of playing with, seeing what I want to do with them. Um, I might, for my own purposes and for my own art journey, I might do something with them later. Um, but for the etching purposes, they might be done. But what I basically did was I lined them with my charcoal and got my charcoal as thick as I wanted that on the lining side. And then for my top, I took my pencil, or I keep calling this a pencil, my blending stump, and I basically blended down into my lip here, and then, kind of blended over so we have a nice blend. And then I left this little light here, and then continued to blend kind of into the lip, blending into my lip. And then I imagine she's kind of got this smirk, so kind of gave her these little smile lines, which kind of gives her this little crease in her nose, so she's kind of got this little private thought of her own going on. And then for the bottom lips, our lips are a little bit darker because they're a little bit closer to the eyes, and a little bit fleshier too. So I wanted to make sure I made her lips pop out at you and kind of made them an excellent feature to her face. And so with that bottom lip, I blended down. And of course, I left that glorious little highlight there. So that's kind of what I did for her lips, to get them to pop out like that. But for my own artwork, I tend to overwork the art, as like the professionals would say. But that's my business. So now I'm over here just kind of evening out skin tone. I'm starting where I want it to be darker because I have more charcoal on my blending stump. So up here, it's going to be a little bit darker up here. And then kind of evening across the top of her temple. And then kind of down. And remember that your brain and eyes are going to, kind of play tricks on each other and fill in spots that kind of just aren't there. So it's okay to leave, like right here, your brain is going to just say, oh, that's a cheekbone, and just kind of just leave it. So it's quite all right to just work on those areas, like the edges, just kind of let them blend. And then I'm going to come down here. So she's kind of turning her head. So she's got a little bit of we're seeing a little bit of the back of her neck as she's turning. And we see the front of her neck right here. So she's got her head turned towards us. So, and your brain is automatically going to know, oh, there's supposed to be an ear here. So your brain might even imagine that there's an ear here. I'm not going to put one because I'm terrible at drawing ears, and I'm okay with that. Like, legit. It's okay if you're terrible at drawing something. Sometimes you can put in hair or, whatever. I tend to, add in a ton of flowers. Whatever I want to do. It's kosher. Now we can start on this side. This side really is mostly kind of done. I want to do some more blending and getting this more balanced. I might add some more charcoal over here just to kind of balance all of this out and kind of work on this curve here that didn't get quite worked out. What I found when I'm doing skin tone, or even in general when I'm blending, is small circles tend to blend better than just going like up and down. But if I go in small circles, and I don't know about the average Joe, but the person with ADHD, or at least my ADHD, I tend to get frustrated or like kind of bored with doing small circles, and my brain is like, come on, hurry up, and I'm like, just shade it in. And then I realize that I'm not doing myself any justice, and I'm not doing my work any justice, and I have to be patient enough to slow it down and actually do the small circles and do the work. Which is kind of the cool thing about art, is it is this Zen activity that makes you slow down and do the work. And sometimes a piece like this can take up to 3 or 4 days to complete when done right, when done properly, because you can do it properly by slowing down and actually doing the work and doing the blending and doing those small tiny circles that you need to do with your blending stem. And in areas where I want it lighter, I'm not really using, I moved my camera, sorry about that. I'm not really using my blending stump. Like right here, I kind of really want this light to stay. So I am using my blending stump on it, but just barely touching that the paper on this. I'm more just blending. And just making sure I don't have any like eraser marks or anything like that kind of just lingering here. And it's just a nice Zen activity, and you can put on some music or leave it quiet. If I leave it too quiet, you're going to hear my stomach growling because I forgot to eat this morning. That's just a reality of life. With ADHD, you get hyper-focused and you forget to eat. Because I got hyper-focused on this. So, yeah. So I'm going to take a break from this. I'm going to go eat, because now that I've been aware of the fact that I forgot to eat, my stomach is like, excuse me. And just lovingly, lightly blend. Now over here, let me move my camera where you can see. Over here, I want to go really hard on that. You can almost see on my blending stump where I can have gone really kind of hard on it. You can see those like ridges there. And there's actually evidence on my blending stump where it's like misshapen from where I've kind of like, can you hear that? I don't want her like to have these lines. I want her to just kind of appear. Oh, your joints just pop out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. So I want to try to get rid of these lines, which for my art means I'll probably end up tearing this paper, destroying it in some way. But for etching purposes, you probably might just add some more medium, like charcoal or graphite, just to kind of blend all that in. But I find it a lot more fun to just destroy the paper. But that's just me. As an artist, you get to decide how you make your magic happen, which is the cool thing about being an artist. Once you've learned to do this and you've done this for a while, a lot of people will come to you and they'll say, oh, I love that portrait or that picture that you did of the lady with the hat or whatever. And then you get to decide, like, because they're probably going with the, can you draw a picture of my grandmother? And then you get to decide, do you really want to draw a picture of their grandmother? Because honestly, humans don't really like pictures of themselves as much as they think they do. In my experience, now, I have a lot of really great artists who I know who do amazing portraitures and they do amazing work, and they can certainly draw your grandmother. And I will gladly say, oh yeah, artist so and so, or whatever, and let that work be passed on to that artist who will happily draw your grandmother. Because honestly, my anxiety cannot take, this does not look like your grandmother at all, whatever. Too long of growing up, sorry, there are two German Shepherds playing above me. Too long of growing up with people who said, that doesn't look like me. Okay, whatever. I don't have time for that. I don't have the energy for it. So I have just mentally collected this catalog of eyes I love, or lips that I love, or, oh, that nose is just so beautiful. So when I draw people, I think about oh, what's a nose that I love, or an eye, or whatever. So they tend to repeat in my drawings, but I refuse to draw people's grandmothers or whatever. I have no interest in recreating anybody's wedding photos. But as an artist, you get to decide that for yourself. Do you want to be the person who recreates other people's wedding photos? I would love to see your work if you do that. And bless you if your anxiety can handle that, because mine just simply cannot. And thank you for enduring that little rant and that side note. But I just needed to warn you, inevitably, with learning this technique and learning to do this over time, you will be bombarded with, can you draw my grandmother's whatever photo album requests? And by all means, charge out the nose to do that, because the anxiety is mind-blowingly strong. And you, as an artist, are worth every penny. Some were still just evening out skin tone, and I have some eraser lines up here where I made some highlights. And I'm just kind of evening out and just making her eye, her occipital cavity, more balanced. Oh, she is so beautiful. Oh, sorry. Didn't realize I was still recording.